the third work of the Landscape in a Bubble series by the original artist surea.i Labs, we are instantly met by an iridescent orb set in center space. It draws your attention instantly, and there is a brilliant contrast upon a deep blue backing here. We of course notice how this piece presents an experience that is impossible to ignore. The magic offered by this canvas is initially difficult to put into words, but we're going to attempt to throughout the course of this video. Of course, the choice to put this orb in center space denotes it as the main and central focus of the composition. We see this effect further reinforced by the aforementioned contrast upon such a deep blue base. We also see this work is near-symmetrical in nature, of course split across a vertical center axis. Any sense of symmetry gives a balanced visual experience. It feels ordered, it feels harmonious, and of course is brilliant in every single way. This is true beauty in the literal sense. We also see color as a primary part of this piece's visual experience. Of course, it is by nature iridescent, meaning it shifts from one to another, just like the literal physical material reality of a true bubble. Of course, we see this pinkish, red, orange, gold accent upon a blue base that certainly contrasts heavily and draws the eye with absolute ease. Of course, the iridescent color also gives a sense of charm, right? It feels enchanting in every way. It could feel sacred, magical, and mystical depending on how you view it. And of course, with this in mind, how do the visual elements combine to make you feel? Let me know down in the comments below. Once again, there's no doubt that the sphere or the bubble or this orb here is the primary subject of the scene. It is the main focus of the work. The orb offered in this canvas appears to transcend everything and anything that is seen in regular day-to-day life. And looking deeper within the orb or the bubble, it appears to be a portal in many different ways. We see what appears to be a mountainous landscape far within the scene, as if we're peering into another world. It's incredibly enchanting. And the title of this piece points to exactly this. It is quite literal, you know. The title of this work as Landscape in a Bubble 3 clearly points to the presence of this piece. It feels as if we're peering through a portal that contains the most treasured sight far beyond. And nature is in many ways a source of idealism. In its original state, it is a beauty untouched by human hands, perhaps pointing to a distant ideal or even a lost paradise that is difficult or maybe even impossible to attain. But of course, with a higher ideal, especially a sense of beauty, that is always something to look forward to. It is something to shoot for, even if we can't directly grasp it. All in all, this work also has a great sense of texture as well. We see this from the mountain within, we see this from the shiny orb of the bubble itself, and even a rougher backing of the blue in the distance. All of this gives a brilliant visual experience and adds a bit of tactile dynamism to the scene at hand. And I gotta extend the question off to you as a viewer. What do you see when you view this piece? Does looking at this charming and iridescent bubble remind you of a distant nostalgic childhood? Does it remind of the fantasy worlds or anything in between? Let me know down in the comments below. And as we mentioned in the beginning, this piece is part of a broader series, and of course is the third iteration in the Landscape in a Bubble series. And yet it is also quite reminiscent of another series by the original artist entitled Soap Opera, with many works hosting similar magic orbs like we see in the composition here. But let's explore the original series that we're looking at here, Landscape in a Bubble. Of course, we see the first iteration here, really much warmer tones, and surely is enchanting as well. Of course, looking within the orb in a distant natural environment far beyond, just like a portal to peer through. And in the second iteration, the one before the original work that we looked at today, we see a green-blue backing and a brilliant accent within that. We see what appears to be a rock or maybe even a mountain of some kind far within the composition as well, once again like a portal to peer through. It's just absolutely magic and incredibly enchanting. That is the Landscape in a Bubble series, the two works, 1 and 2, that led to the third, which we studied today. Let's also explore the additional series that I mentioned entitled Soap Opera, which is certainly also reminiscent of the Landscape in a Bubble series. Looking at the original work, Soap Opera 1, this was one of the first pieces that we ever studied by the original artist surea.i Labs. We see this beautiful frame here that certainly contains the composition here, draws your eye within. We see once again a magic iridescent orb here, and then far within the scene there is also a different landscape, as if we're peering through a portal here. It appears to be a statue of some kind and a bit of natural elements in the backing as well. I also want to look at the work entitled Soap Opera 4. Of course, we see this beautiful, almost emerald or jade iridescent bubble here set in center space. Also, some type of landscape far within there. Once again, incredibly enchanting. Of course, iridescent, charming, magical in every sense of the word. Lastly, we're going to look at Soap Opera 5 here. Once again, returning back to the frame in the outer region. Far within, this is a much stronger contrast, of course, that accent of the orb within center space, that kind of pinkish red and that blue contrasts so heavily against the lighter background there. All in all, these are incredibly enchanting works, and like I said, the soap opera series, the three works that we just looked at, is quite reminiscent of the landscape in a bubble series. Once again, returning back to the original piece today, enchanting, magic, iridescent. I keep saying these words over and over again, but it truly is magical. It's enchanting. It feels like a fantasy world of wonder and imagination. That is kind of what comes to mind when I'm trying to explain this work. It really transcends regular material reality, just like a true portal in the brilliant imaginings of a fantasy world. The piece here is a product of the AI generative art program Midjourney with additional edits in Procreate. And the original artist loves to take these AI generative base and make them even more unique with additional edits, especially in Procreate. Really hope you'll enjoy today. Like I said, this work is incredibly enchanting. It feels magical in every sense of the word. This orb in center space is just absolutely impossible to miss. It is unmistakable, and of course, a brilliant visual experience that is incredibly colorful, incredibly playful, and certainly reminds of a distant childhood and the wonder and imagination that comes as a result of that. All in all, I really hope you'll enjoyed, and let me know what you think of this piece down in the comments below. Check out the original artist surea.i Labs, truly a talented multidisciplinary artist, especially working with the AI generative tools and some additional edits in programs such as Procreate. That's all for today. Once again, really hope you'll enjoyed.